With y'all's tolerance, we'll move forward and call the finance committee meeting to order. We've got, don't let it scare you, but if you looked at your agenda, we've got 12 budgets. About 3 weeks ago, we only had 9 and lasted almost 3 hours, but we're not doing that today. These are short, mostly one page budgets. It shouldn't be that complicated. We'll move fairly rapidly. Then we've got a couple other small proposals. I think maybe, I apologize, I wasn't on any of the committee that met Thursday, but I had to be gone Thursday, family. And so I wasn't there, but I know we had an energy and property and we had personnel. And so if those two committees had recommendations or something to bring to us for the budget, then we'll entertain those today. So, if you go down your list of the budgets that Kelly emailed out to us and then listed in the agenda, the first one is the Circuit Court Automation Fund. And anything dealing with the circuit court has to be approved by the circuit judges. We have 12 circuit judges in the 2nd Judicial District, and they kind of divide themselves up. Like the juvenile department has a head juvenile judge. The most senior judge, usually in the 2nd Judicial, is considered the administrative judge. Judge Wilson was the administrative judge for the 2nd Judicial for several years. And most things will pass through that judge. Judge Wilson has retired. And who's that judicial judge now?
Yes, Honeycutt.
Honeycutt. Yeah. Judge Pam Honeycutt is now the judicial judge. They kind of regulate the automation funds and how those fees are used and dispensed. It's kind of not a love-hate, it's a love-love relationship, I guess. We can't spend it without their blessing, but they can't spend it without our appropriation. So, but we've always worked very well with them. Kelly included both their revenues, showing a total of $12,740, less the 10%, $11,466. And then she shows their expenditures at a total of $11,100, which is under their revenues. Largest part is the Metro connection. That's in the courthouse, isn't it? Okay.
Both ends for the video conferencing.
Yeah. There's just not much to do. Sometimes they always put a little money in there for small equipment. Sometimes the projectors or the speakers or something needs a little work done. But very little to be said about it unless the circuit court or circuit judges have come to us needing extra money for some reason. Kelly, any comments on that at all? Anything, Judge, in relation to the new courthouse or anything with them?
No. Well, did have a request though from the Osceola courthouse to have plexiglass put up on the judge's bench.
From the Osceola courthouse? Bulletproof or otherwise?
Just, I think, try to keep the germs at bay.
Yeah, and you know, we still are in times of COVID.
We are.
Whether we want to admit it or not. But that shouldn't be a terrible expense at all.
I don't think so. I just got this request last week.
Basically, it's 3 courtrooms in the new courthouse. That might be something we look at. The next 3, the county judge kind of oversees. We have the county judge department, the courthouse totals, and then the other county. And under the county judge totals, the biggest changes you'll see in most of our budgets from here on out will be in the salary adjustments that Kelly has already incorporated. for the most part. We've added a little bit into contract labor slash, legal fees, moving from, 20,000 to 27,000. We bumped that up just a little bit. Most of the rest of it's just pretty much a carryover. Judge, these are yours, anytime you wanna chime in, comment, but you really didn't have, as far as your just office budget, you haven't asked for hardly any changes. Moving on to the courthouse, Kevin, you can always stop me anytime I'm missing something. I'm subject to missing something, so, moving over to, courthouse totals, excuse me. Again, salary adjustments coming in, moved the, software imaging up just $1,000. The utilities, look at the utilities down there, 4 lines from the bottom, 3060 utilities liable from 50,000 to 100,000 in anticipation of the new courthouse. I mean, we've almost doubled the size of it, isn't that right, Justice Ash?
Within 2,000 square feet.
You know, so we're having to do our best estimates.
And that's just an arbitrary number, because I think the cost savings on what we've provided in both those buildings is gonna bring it down, so I don't think you can just double it, but, I think we need to be prepared anyway.
Absolutely.
The insulation in that new side.
Is I assume that the decrease for the utilities for Osceola was coming off of actual spend, but is that, I mean, is that gonna be accurate if they're about to have court more regularly?
You're talking about from 23,000
Right.
in 2019?
Right.
15,000, 12,000.
I mean, I imagine that's why it was down in 20, because they weren't having court.
I think there was also, didn't the utilities go down, with the new mayor? Wasn't there
The
something?
energy rates, I think, adjusted.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a little.
You can depend, everything I read, and I'm kind of hooked up on that, but everything I read is that, utility prices in the fall and all of next year are going to be considerably higher because of the cost of gas and petroleum and so forth.
Again, it's an arbitrary number, we just
They
have
might
to.
make it up in the Bible one anyways.
We just have to put it in hold.
And this is where you took part of, so, did we just, the election coordinator, she used to be in this, or no?
No, she's actually in her own election budget, but we haven't.
Oh, okay.
Other miscellaneous, Kelly, do you remember off the top of your head in that particular budget, what's all included, because we doubled it, or Judge, do you remember?
What's that?
Other miscellaneous in this courthouse budget. We went from 25,000 to 50,000.
The windows.
Other miscellaneous.
The windows?
That's what this line would be about, that possible purchase of, to keep the windows and the new courthouse and all that. You was talking about getting something to get up there to,
I'm sorry.
Oh, the cherry picker type thing?
Yes, I didn't know what line up out of me wrong. Yeah, and that is a figure that is not based on any research that I've done, but I do know we're gonna have to keep that plastic curtain.
Yeah, you and I talked about that. You wanna tell them what we're,
Yeah, the idea is to get a sky lift, similar to those tools that's over there right now all over that campus. Something to lift someone up that would be able to clean the outside of that glass. Plus, county judge before last broke his arm, out cleaning the gutters one afternoon. Which we do not find me doing that. Crawl up on the roof and get the leaves out. But if we did have, some sort of a piece of equipment where we could hoist someone up to the top, then that would make it, and there's some problems with that. They're over there doing the landscaping right now, but I think we could get probably a piece that would stretch out far enough and stay off the landscaping. But whatever we're gonna choose, I think it just begs for something there to be able to get some personnel up to the top.
we've got it pretty, we won't keep it.
Yes.
Guys, any questions about the courthouse budget? The last one there under this little segment, 3 other county totals. Basically no change all the way down, other than some minor adjustments here. Again, we got a 10,000 adjustment and other miscellaneous.
It's one of those line items that was, going for, uniforms for the custodians. Tom, is that in that, miscellaneous?
No, that would have been in the prior budget, the courthouse budget.
The courthouse budget.
Guys, any questions there?
I heard someone say something about the janitorial. We doubled that too, just to double the space.
Yeah, bigger place, take more work and hopefully keep it clean.
Which, you know, and I'm not just, I thought what we'd do is let this next year go by and see how it worked, but 2 custodians in that, on those, I'm gonna call them 2 buildings, that's stretching them pretty thin. I mean, you get to think, what is it, 17,000 square feet? One of those approximately.
Yeah, you're about 32,000 total there.
It's a lot of, you break that down into what a house would be and then having someone clean that house, but I thought we'd go through 2022 and just find out.
And we can kind of adjust it from there and see what else we need. We're going to have to be flexible, you know, both ways.
But we do wanna keep it clean and we wanna keep it orderly, and, you know, we don't wanna let it slip any.
Down to district courts, you know, we have a Chickasaw District Court in Blue Island and Osceola District Court in South End, and we share expenses in those district courts with both the cities and the state. They used to be known as municipal judges, and the state initiated a program several years ago and made them district court judges, and then initially they started sharing in the cost of the judge, but then they actually have taken over pretty much the cost of the judges. That was honestly to the judges' benefit. Kelly, thoughts or comments on the district court budgets? And
I think that each district court judge is working on their budgets. They were, I guess, maybe waiting for their city budgets to be finalized, and then they're gonna send me something. I just haven't received anything from them, so we just carried everything over.
carried everything over for the
Yes.
moment. Did you, you know, we talked about 5% raises for our personnel. Did you include, so no raises in either one of those clerk salaries or anything
Right,
at
I
this
just
point?
carried it straight over for now.
See what the cities do. If they give 3, we wanna match what the cities do as closely as possible. Do y'all understand that?
I thought the state said the district court.
They-
Judge's salary.
The state does the judge's salary.
Okay.
We share costs on the clerks.
Okay.
And the only thing we are required to share is the salary. We're not required to share retirement, insurance, and such on that. We've had that question, every time we change mayors, seems like we have that question come up.
So they maintain their city employees.
Yes. They get all the city benefits and then we split their salary with them. Okay, so those are just carryovers. We'll see if either one of the cities come up with any adjustments in their salary structures. The veterans, who's our veteran service officer at the moment?
Dale Dickerson, and he is asking for some equipment. In fact, I spoke with him this morning. Norris is supposed to be getting something together. It's a mouse to a laptop, I think a printer, some of those type things. Not a whole lot of stuff, but we don't have that number as of right now.
Now we've got $2,000 in small equipment, and just $500 in general office supplies. Kelly, why did we go from 4,800 to 10,000? We going back to 2019 in the insurance?
Well, the past, veterans officer was on the HRA, not on our medical insurance.
Okay.
This employee was on all of it.
It just sounded like a lot, but that's still just one employee.
The other fella, Jim, he was retired military, he had property, whatever they got.
Right. Guys, any questions of the Veterans Office? That also goes through the judge's office. Cooperative Extension is kind of on a contract basis. We don't pay their salaries. U of A requires, participation from each and every county in which they have an extension office based on the number of agents that the county office maintains. For the last few years, we've maintained $120,000 match contribution from the county, and then providing, some of their office, services. That $120,000 keeps 4 agents here in the county.
Where did their office move to before the building now?
Osceola.
In the courthouse at Osceola?
Nope.
No, they're at the FSA, Farm Service Agency building.
On 140, if you come off the interstate headed to town, they're on the right, about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the interstate.
Okay. And we just call sheriff, pay part of their, I guess, their rent in that building.
Yeah, who owns that building, Judge? It's not FSA,
Natural Resources?
Natural Resources, I think, owns that building, and we actually pay them.
Which is really a good combination, because that's where a lot of the farmers.
That makes sense.
They have to go to the FSA office to do all their government program work, and then they got the natural resources there, and then they got the extension service
That
there.
makes sense.
You know, that was the office that used to be up here.
Toward that.
It'd be hard to maintain any kind of office for $8,500 a
Exactly.
year too.
Exactly.
That's a pretty good deal.
Guys, any comments on the, extension service? Our insurance account. Kelly, what, explain insurance account.
It's just a separate fund, that we put insurance premiums in, anything out of the ordinary, so if someone is on COBRA, or if they're retired and they're keeping their dental, we just put those payments in that fund and then use it to pay the monthly bill. Just like our pass-through account, basically.
Any thoughts, guys? Any questions on that? Shouldn't be, it's pretty straightforward. We do have, our county assessor here, and he's responsible for the reappraisal fund. Harley was showing revenues of $195,818, and then, we showed the exact same expenditures. You know, at one time, we did our own reappraisal work,
Yeah.
and then, we were actually kind of pushed into letting the state do it, but it's actually worked out pretty well for you.
Worked out great, especially the people, and they've kept it at the base rate that we don't pay anything from the county. But it may have to go up in November because we do have more partials now. It's done by partial count, but it won't be maybe 1% going up.
So it's just been a wash for us. It's been a really
Yeah,
good deal.
they pay us, we pay them, and so we don't furnish anything, and only thing we furnish is a couple of computers, but that's it.
Pretty cheap, guys.
So we don't have to reduce that one by the 10%? Is that,
I can't make a balance if I do that, because what comes in has to go right back out, so like on those, we kind of get a, just
this
like
is the pass-through one?
yeah.
And they said that wouldn't even come into till next November, that we would see a little bit of increase, but by that time, they have to bid we're going into a reappraisal, end of our reappraisal, the final year. So they'll do that, and then there'll be a bid, they're gonna have to bid against them. Before with our system, data system management, nobody wanted to touch it because you had to learn a whole new system. And Delta Mass didn't have a problem with that. So, but this year, we're with a company now that everybody will, so there'll be a little competition bidding this time. So we may not even see an increase.
The adult drug court, I don't know if y'all are very familiar with the problem, or with that program, not problem, but with that program or not. But that's initiated through the circuit, court judges. We weren't required to do that, but Judge Wilson and, Judge Steyer, if I remember right, came to us and asked if we would participate in this program. And it's kind of a alternative to jail for some, defendants. And in every case and in every county that I've read anything or heard anything or, was shared anything about, it's been a very successful program, through the circuit court. Kelly's included both the revenues and the expenditures here. Obviously, it's not much. Revenues at 880, well, total revenues at 980, and that's 10% at 882, but we've got a fund balance right now of almost $7,600. So unless they come in for some other request, most of that's actually funded by the state. But we do have to track it. Any thoughts or comments, Kelly? See, y'all thought this was gonna be a long process. Economic development. Who wants to touch that?
I think you're doing a good job. Keep right on.
Alright, so, I think what they've done basically, when we gave a 5% raise, is they've kind of done the same figures in on their budget too for their employees. And other than that, it was pretty much an across the board bring across. Judge, any remarks, thoughts, comments for the moment? Plain and safe?
No, well, we've got a lot of good things going, and I think they're doing a good job. A lot of, prospective industries, it's, circling this county right now.
I think we're just on the brink of something wonderful. I just feel like we're fixing to bust wide open. Mississippi County I think we're gonna be a showcase for the nation before this is all over, guys. I can't say a lot more than that at the moment, but, I just see lots of good stuff on the horizon for Mississippi County.
I don't see, where are their salaries, I guess, I'm not sure actually.
They haven't given me anything to go by yet. I just carried it over because, Tanika, the last I heard from her, which was Friday, she said they're still working on a slight increase, but the grade board has to approve it first. I don't know if they have yet or haven't, but she hasn't gotten anything on the number.
So I talked to a couple of the Greta board members, or they actually called me, and, I think what they're gonna end up doing, it'll end up being like a 3.5% increase in that category.
So do I need to go?
I thought they'd already given it to you.
So where's the line item for salaries?
It's 3015. It's at the very top.
But that's not just salaries, is it?
No, it's, yes, it's Cliff's budget for their salary and insurance, and I don't know what all he pays out of that.
402,373 is the total dollar total. It's about 5 items.
So, okay, so they just lump their entire budget under one line item, basically?
So what we do is we just have a contract with them for economic development services. We have in the past and do occasionally, ask for a breakdown of their budget to see what they're supposedly spending the money on. They not always provided, a detailed budget to us. Usually we have to request that, but,
Well, I requested last year, so I'll go ahead and request this year. I mean, why, it's a lot of money to not see it.
Yeah, that's how I'm agreeing with that.
they've done a good job though, and I think we've really had a good structure in general in the way we've approached our economic development.
Oh, I 100% think they do a great job. I just think as my job as a justice, to do my due diligence would be to see that budget before I approve it, especially if there's gonna be changes in it.
I don't disagree, and we'll put that request into Greta. You know, Cliff and Tanika are the two employees, that are so closely associated with economic development. That's the only two employees that are in that department, but they are not county employees. They are employees of Greta, Great River Economic Development Authority, Greta. And they are Greta employees, not county employees. Greta could replace them and put somebody else in that position in a heartbeat. We'd have nothing to do, think, or say about it, as long as we maintained our contract. We're not bound by anything to maintain a contract with Greta, but I think we'd be foolish not to. Greta is composed of usually all the mayors in the county that care to participate, and then various business leaders, bankers, industrialists, real estate. I mean, many segments of county.
There's quite a few people,
There are.
and it's equally represented all over the county. It's a good board.
The board members that I speak with fairly regularly are very proud of their board and the participation they get, and they feel like they've got one of the best Greta boards they've ever had. And that's another reason I feel like we're just on the cusp. And the judge is in on very many things. He probably knows a lot more than I do, and he's not saying a lot. He's got a better poker face than I do, but we're pretty excited about things we see coming down the pipeline.
So that 3015, the 402,373, are you saying that that's their salaries or that's their?
That's our contract with Greta. So out of that, what do they do with that? Well, that's
Yeah.
what Molly's asking. What do they do with that? Well, some of it's split salary and benefits, some of it's make salary and benefits. Then some of it, I've known them to go to different, conventions, economic development conventions that could be scattered around the country. I've actually known them to go visit certain industries that may be outside the country. They travel to different cities that they may be competing with, on some of these economic development bidding contracts. There's a lot that goes into trying to attract these industries.
Rent, utilities, phone, just maintaining all
I
this.
think there's some rent for something on the other one. I don't know, what is that rent for?
You talking about on the
Util-
front page,
Yeah, there's something on it.
8710, it's a blank. Now I'm looking at revenues.
Miscellaneous for 30,000.
That is, what they use to pay like utilities for the Snyder building and the Juno building.
Okay, I forget
And
about
then
that.
like, the yard work that keeps the yard up, I have a contract with them, I think, to do that. So that's where that 30,000 goes for the most part.
On the site preparation, we appropriated money for site preparation, but they didn't do it.
They didn't use it all, I
Okay.
think, yeah, so that's been in there, as you can see, for a few years. Because the 19 and 20 and to date, nothing has been spent, so I think we've just been carrying that balance over. Same thing with Newsfield, that one's just been carried over.
It's probably been about 3 years, I guess. Justice Virgin might help me remember. It's been about 3 years since we did a good purge.
It's been a while.
Yeah, they did one last year
Did we?
on projects. Now, we didn't really touch the countywide section, this first section. I know that Tamika was planning on speaking with New Steel and ASP. I think it was, to let them know they had money left. So, I don't know the details about that, but we may need to ask her, I guess, before we purge those.
You can almost bet that, I know we've already got 1.8, but if the other steel mill comes to Osceola, they'll probably be asking for a big commitment. We've got 1.8 million that's already been approved for Big River. But that's been,
There's still a big one for me.
I'll back up just a little bit too, guys, just in sharing information on economic development. We approved a $500,000 grant to the Cold War Museum. And the way, we're not just writing a $500,000 check and handing it over to somebody. The purpose of that, primary purpose of that was to put a new roof and secure the building. And so what we've asked them to do is, they're responsible for bidding the work out and getting the work done, and then submit invoices for work accomplished to Kelly, to be paid, just like any other
Yeah,
project.
that's a good idea.
I definitely, I mean, I think that's a really good idea. We wanna make sure that, yes,
Our money goes to what we thought.
that's right, yeah.
I just thought that was probably fair and more direct, and made good tracking for everybody and no
Well,
question.
and you're right, I mentioned that, that, you know, most of the time we enter into a contract with county or with judge to make sure that it's.
Yeah, we're not just writing $500,000 free-for-all check,
So
so.
I probably need to appropriate that for next year, cause it won't all be spent this year.
Yeah, that's correct. It's gonna take them a while to ever get started. They actually have done their bidding process on most of that work, but I don't know that they've awarded the bids to you, Judge.
I don't think they have.
I don't know, I know that, I think they were gonna open the bids maybe on Friday, I think so, but I don't know.
I hadn't heard either. They asked if we wanted to do that. Mental health grant, last thing I've got. This is just basically, kind of a pass-through also. This was something that we were requested, we didn't have to do, but it was requested that we do. Goes through, and this one, it goes through you and Bo?
Yes.
Yeah, through the sheriff's department and through the financial management department. So there's very little for us to really look at, it's just a pass-through grant. We track it for, just, audit purposes, and we kind of requested to do that. So that's what we have today. Now, that's not all the budgets we like, some adjustments. Kelly, where are we at? What do we like? You and I talked a little bit. By the way, welcome back.
Thank you. Alright, thank you. I still need to do the courthouse construction. I had elections left, but I didn't really wanna touch it until,
Well, we're gonna talk with personnel here in just a second.
so courthouse construction election, we do have that one fund for the CARES Act, but I think it's just gonna be brought across as zero. I don't know anything that's gonna be in there. And then county general transfers, and I really need to do those, the very last things,
Jumping back to the jail and.
and senior citizens, yes. I need to put everyone's 5% in and get final numbers and then do that one.
Alright, now that brings up a good point, guys, and the judge, had to leave early on that senior citizens budget, I think, if I remember right. When we talked to the senior citizens, I think you had another commitment you had to make, but we told them we'd look at, and y'all help me remember this now, we told them we'd look at up to maybe 3 vans in doing that, so, remember that?
And looking at those vans, I pulled up the contract, and everything I got on my computer at work. And this year, there are a lot of the vans that are not, they don't even submit a bid.
Supply and demand, they're not there.
Well, that and the prices on everything has went up significantly. The truck that I was looking at possibly for the city went from about 18,000 to 22,000. So, I saw a couple of things in there and I meant to print it off and bring it. Now, maybe pull it up on my email because I actually told the Department of Finance and got them to send it to me. I just gotta remember her name. They sent it to me as a contract at a glance, and everything had went up.
Can I say something real quick, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all all know we changed to the apprentice program. And, in years past, it has taken us weeks to balance, weeks. 4 hours.
Wow.
Really?
Wow, that's
From
awesome.
start to finish,
That's great.
4 hours.
4 hours.
Y'all see how high she was walking Thursday?
Oh, I was so excited.
I'm wondering.
It looks like our collections may be down just a little bit. Well, but the majority of it is in personal, and I think that's because of our, so many people have moved out of town. But another really good thing is our online collections between current and delinquent was, $1,490,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that is, and it doesn't cost us a cent to use it.
Wow.
So that's a big increase for the county.
This made your office that much more effective,
Yes.
efficient and effective.
But the apprentice, as much as I have fussed and beat my head against the wall and pulled my hair out, they have been wonderful.
Which is what this other departments have gone over to,
Yes.
and they're in that beating their head and pulling their hair
Right,
out.
and Harley's beating, yeah, they're beating their heads.
See, I don't have no more hair.
But it's,
I've been pulled.
it's really been beneficial for the department.
That's good news.
Yes.
Bert was here last week.
Looking, Joe, and looking at the vans, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Good job, Susan.
The only minivan that's showing is a Ford, or I'm sorry, is a Ram ProMaster City, and it's 26,000. Now, you know, if we're looking at something like that, the Jeep Renegade, which is a small van, has a smaller cargo, or it's a sport utility vehicle, has a small cargo area and back seats, and you can get a 4x2 for $21,403, or you can go a 4x4 for $22,440. Those would probably be our best, because even like the Ford Transit vans are 31 and 32. All the passenger vans, half-ton utility van is 25,620. Now, you can go down to a pickup truck, but I'm not sure that's what we would want or need. And you can get a pickup truck for as low as 22,620. I think they would do better with it, like a small utility.
Rick, is that van, is that the short van like you see a lot of people?
I'm thinking that, well, I'm thinking like this Ford Transit, or that Ram ProMaster City. I think it is. I haven't looked up to see exactly what it looks like. But, you know, the
Seems like that would
prices.
really serve their purpose really well.
Isn't that what you were kind of talking about?
Especially in Blyville, I think that would be ideal for meals and stuff.
What,
Better
the
gas mileage.
ProMaster?
No, the little,
The little Jeep Sport Utility.
or what is, I don't know what those are called.
Almost like a little hatchback.
Well, the Jeep Renegade, you know what the great Jeep Grand Cherokee looks like? Step it down about 4 sizes. It's a small, inexpensive sport utility vehicle.
And if they put
I
utility
couldn't
in,
sit in the back
pay
seat.
it on, it's cheaper on insurance.
So
If they
this
put
is
the
mostly to,
utility on it, it's cheaper on insurance.
for the meals,
For
right?
meal delivery.
Oh, okay, not.
Now,
Meals on Wheels.
And the Renegade, you might be able to fold that back seat down and you can sit in there.
This is
I
what
know
the
what you're talking about,
transport
that's
van.
what like, like H&H, I think has one of
Yeah,
them.
like
and
Dixie
anything-
Healthcare
Yeah.
has one, I see it driving around.
Dixie Healthcare.
Most of those are
That's
not
what
owned.
Sierra has.
If you go back and think about the senior citizens budget, and without regards to the van or anything, just their budget as they presented it. Kelly, you'll have to chime in on this one. Between the revenues, anticipated revenues and wish list expenditures, we were about $100,000 short. And at that time, the girls, the ladies were gonna go back and review and see what changes they could make both directions and get back with Kelly, but have they gotten back with you at all?
No, and it was $157,000.
That's
Short.
before we buy 3 new vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, so you're,
That didn't include the vans, guys, that's just their
So it would take,
operating
with just
budget.
take vehicles, you're up to $200,000 deficit.
You know, that's the problem. Vehicles went up, they needed some vehicles, but
And we had a $400,000 request in there on them, and they were still 157 short. So we're gonna have to revisit with them, just expect that.
that's the thing you're talking about, the small picture. See,
Yes, yes, yes.
now, it's on there,
Yeah.
it's Ford Transit, you go back and look to see what they paid. But that, it was more expensive than what,
They put more food in that,
Yeah, I mean, it would,
right?
I would think it would be better,
Bigger?
wouldn't it serve the purpose better? No.
Yeah, I think.
31,720.
Wow, okay.
I'd say that, no,
Instead of
they,
getting three, can we get two of those and then be bigger and then something more? Or do they
I
need
think
three
the
for a
quantity is
reason?
more about how, I think how many miles they travel all over the county in a short period of time, I think was part
We
of
just need
it.
to sit back down with them and show them pictures and say, no.
Well, with the increase, and I know we talked about this too,
and I'll print the
we had
full contract.
discussed doing maybe something a little different with the sheriff's cars too, because we still weren't quite in the rotation, and he was gonna give us some information, I think, too.
We have, well, we have 10 in his budget
Right here.
for new ones.
We got eight requested. Let's see, automobiles, police vehicles.
I guess
And
we travel.
they have been going with the Durangos. If they go with the all-wheel drive pursuit vehicle, it's $30,454, plus you have to have equipment another $4,000 to $5,000. If they go with the high pursuit, they're $29,589, and another
So do you buy, so what do you buy?
I think they have been buying the pursuit, high speed, the all-wheel drive is a high speed pursuit. I don't know. I know county, you know, when you get out on the county roads, a lot of times during the winter, they want four-wheel drive or all-wheel
Oh, I
drive.
definitely think all-wheel
So
drive, yeah.
I'm
No
gonna
doubt.
say they're getting that $30,454. I found last year's contract, and it was probably about $3,000 to $4,000 cheaper.
Oh, do we think that'll,
Because we won't be able to get them.
I mean, you think that'll reverse itself?
And what do you mean?
Do you think the
reverse?
price will go back down?
No.
No vehicles in there,
There's such a shortage right now, we're having like supply and demand shortage.
Something about the chips, can't get them from China.
Okay, guys, we had 2 committee meetings the other day, and I'm kind of got to read about them in the paper just a little bit over the weekend, and it seemed that both of them were gonna bring something to the finance committee each,
Oh, energy and property, yes, I don't think there wasn't anything that we needed from finance, was there? I don't think so. We were just kinda, it was.
I thought y'all were coming with something without
Oh,
a
the
recommendation.
$2,000, yes, the $3,000 without a recommendation, that's right.
$3,000.
To get the process started and, potentially leveling the farmland, there's approximately 300 acres of farm.
3,000 or 300,000?
$3,000.
3,000.
Oh, just
No,
cut
no.
sheet.
Yeah, cut sheet, yeah.
A new cut sheet.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yes, thank you for that.
$10 a night.
Yeah,
If we had one, it would be a really old one and outdated.
That's
and
correct,
Had to be
yes.
redone again.
so.
We did that
Yeah.
several years ago, but I couldn't.
The judge found it in a file, but like you said, that was done almost 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
It needs to be revisited
Yes,
a little
so,
bit. Judge, you wanna do that this year, next year, when do you want that?
I spoke with a surveyor that said he could get it in, he thought this week.
I think the quicker the better.
And I didn't find the whole cut sheets, I just found the information that was boiled down into, yards cut and moved.
In the paper, you said something about 2 wells, is that what that old one was showing was 2?
It did,
I knew one wasn't gonna do it, but I couldn't remember if it was 2 or 3.
it was 2,
2?
one on the north, one on the south.
Where do you wanna, you got a place you wanna put that, or take that, or
What's that?
$3,000?
But I'd like to just get it, appropriated so that we can go ahead and get it shot.
But appropriated where? What line item, or did y'all?
We didn't get that far.
So, you understand what we're doing?
Yes.
We're working on the county farmland. We need to appropriate $3,000. What line item do you feel like would work well?
I would say somewhere in other county.
Other
And
county?
I can add like a survey bond, or, you know, I can do for economic development, like the soil study or whatever, I can make one for.
We're already over in other county, if I'm not mistaken, so would you mind adding that, and then we'll do an appropriation ordinance, we'll look at it next budget.
Oh, okay, so you don't want an appropriation ordinance?
Yeah, we do, but we won't get it until next month as far as the
Oh.
actual ordinance.
Okay.
But I'd say go ahead and please get the work done as quickly as
So you
possible.
can say go ahead and start it and tell him, give him the go right now then.
I'd certainly recommend it, because if we're gonna try to get that started and done, the farmer's gonna need information just as quick as he can get it. And then, did y'all discuss, Justice Jackson, did y'all discuss how or who or what was gonna pay? I mean, there's so many options in leveling land. If you're looking at least $1,000 an acre in the land jobs that I've been involved in, we'd be talking around $300,000. In some cases, it's beneficial for the landowner to do that, because they can then take a tax write-off. In some cases, particularly in corporate ownership, it's more beneficial to let the renter do it and give them some allowances, like a long-term contract.
Right.
Did y'all
We
discuss
did,
that?
we discussed it, quite a bit, actually, and I'll let the judge.
I spoke with, Mike Cohn, which.
Yeah.
And, we talked about particulars on how that would go. I asked him at the beginning of the conversation, if he's ever done anything like that, and he said he had. And he just gave me the problems that could come about if we had chose to go that route. Namely, let's just say you did the extended lease, say 10 years, which is pretty much the going time right now. If something happened to that farm organization before the end of the 10 years, there could be some sort of a paying back the money that they've invested into it. There was a number of reasons, and I asked him if he would be willing to come and talk to y'all about it, and he said he would. But I was convinced that we may not get exactly what we think we're going to get at the end of 10 years. So my idea is the county go ahead and do that, get it done.
Pay for it.
And
Level their own ground.
yes, but now I'm not against going the other route. I think we need to look into it. I was convinced there was some problems with it.
I can see.
The general consensus that day was, like the judge said, I think.
Let the county pay, and, because it's a big deal. I mean, we're probably talking $350,000 anyway, I imagine. Wells normally cost, they cost 20,000 or better.
They've gone up. That's the one area that has gone way up.
As it, so we're looking at a good $350,000, but we are in shape to do that.
Well, that's
That's what our
That was
consensus, I
we
think,
talked
with
about that as well.
So the reason I'm trying
Well,
to pin y'all just a little bit is this something that we need to include in the 2022 budget? If we wanna budget $350,000 or $400,000 for land leveling in the judge's budget.
Well, that was one of the things, that's why we wanted to move with the new cut sheet quickly, the $3,000 to just to kind of get the ball rolling and see, and he was gonna come talk with us and make sure that yes, I would say,
We want to get information. put
Yeah,
together so
I would
we
say
know
that-
what it costs.
probably so.
So we're gonna add a new line item into the budget for land leveling. Again, Kelly, would that probably other county, but with a particular line item?
I think like the site preparation,
Uh-huh.
maybe I can talk to AAC and just make sure that we use the route.
And with the anticipation of somewhere in that range, based on the new cut sheet, $350,000,
Right,
$400,000. I'd just like to get it in this budget process if we can.
And then eliminate the revenue for 2022 on rent.
Yeah, because it's a process.
This year.
And that was another reason that we wanted to move quickly, was so that we would make sure that we would not lose, we would only lose the one, and potentially have it back and they could do some winter wheat, something like that, so.
Okay. So we're gonna ask them that we'll add a line item and we've got a kind of a number, but please go ahead and try to get a cut sheet done and maybe by the time we get ready to vote on the final budget, we'll have a number to put in there. Is that good?
Good.
Personnel committee.
Okay, the judge and Janice agreed that, Ms. Craig agreed that we should move the election coordinator under her office. What she would like to do is, she has a person that she wants to move in, and she would like to promote that person to basically a chief deputy. That way, she will still work in her office, she will have duties in her office. During an election, she will handle the elections, just as our election coordinator is now. She wants to hire another person to work in her office to replace this person. And then hopefully around June, our other election coordinator is going to train the one that she is hiring, we would drop her from our budget. We would revisit that probably around June, and make sure that they've gotten fully trained, because we're gonna have a general election in November. So basically, it's to create a new slot for a deputy, chief deputy's pay as election coordinator / clerk's office. And then leave that position on her to fill it.
So when will this new position begin?
January 1st.
So we can just include it in the new budget,
Yes.
it'll be in our appropriation ordinance, our budget ordinance, and we don't have to do anything right now.
Right. And that was our recommendation, and then, go ahead and have her included with her budget, and that way, I don't guess we'd have to vote until we do the new budget.
Guys, I know they hashed this out real well in personnel, I'm familiar with the circumstances. Does anybody have any questions of Justice Ash or, County Clerk Janice in the back? I bet they probably answered all your questions Thursday very well.
The second item we were asked to discuss, I'll just tell you, we'll be probably be revisiting it at some point in time in our budget. The prosecutor's office, or DTF, has asked for a case coordinator. We all asked for more information. They really didn't bring us what we wanted to see, kind of caseload they're carrying, how does it compare with, we've asked them for what, the last 3 years?
Yes, pre-COVID.
Case numbers that they were dealing with, and, they've given us this, federal government's cutting the grants for some of them, and it's cutting this position out. And that's why they're asking for it. They told us it handles about 400 cases a year. It also does the asset forfeitures for,
No, that's a different.
they do that part of it too. She, the case coordinator, will handle that part of it too.
I thought they said
Yes.
the other thing. Yeah, they did
Well,
not
they
bring
used to,
anything.
but now he's going to do it all for this account. They had a guy in the main office that was doing all that stuff. But he has volunteered to take the asset forfeitures from the city.
Well, he basically gave us a lot of information, but no data.
Exactly.
That's how
We've
that's
asked-
how.
Yeah,
We've
that
asked them for
email
the
did.
data, I haven't seen any of it yet, I don't know if anybody's received any, but we'll come back and meet again when we get that data, so.
Another thing that was brought up to me by someone is that it's also creating a position for someone who lives outside of the county, and we're paying them out of county money.
Well, and it was also discussed, I mean, if we're just reviewing discussion, that now you have 3 drug task force that will be dealing with this coordinator. So, and used to it was a pass-through county grant. Now it will not be that, so why would the county,
Fund it all.
that's right.
Well, in the newspaper,
We've asked the
it said
judge.
that y'all were gonna kind of
Talk
talk
to
to
the
somebody,
cities.
I wonder who was gonna do that?
Well, I think
You doing
Jake
that?
is gonna help the judge with that, because basically, the other side of it, we asked him to give us what percentage of the cases we carry. We should be paying for our percentage,
right.
Blythe should be paying for their percentage, and Osceola
I mean,
should
if
be
they're
paying for
fairly
theirs.
equal, that would seem fine. but-
Well, that's the way the second judicial works. We got 9 courthouses in 6 counties, but they do by caseload per courthouse.
Right.
And then they divvy the bills up on that
Right.
basis, so that y'all are talking the same thing.
You know, right now. the
Are they gonna
sheriff's-
want this to work for you?
Osceola, yes, they are. Don't know if they're gonna make it. They actually want it before then, but I know they're not gonna get it before then.
You're also chairman of fire and police, and you had an opportunity to discuss this with the sheriff's department, how they felt.
I've talked to the sheriff a couple of times. There's a couple of people I talked to that deal more with this case load, because they know more about what's going on in the drug task force. And they said, you know, yeah, we agree we need it, but they probably do need it. But the thing is, it's just like they said, if we were all under one house, we were all housed at the sheriff's department, I was sending officers out there in Osceola, then it might be something that the county should pay for. But since they're all three input into it, we should look at having everybody there.
I agree. I thought that was a good idea.
It's, they're telling us the county does more cases than Blythe or Osceola, but I do. The way that the county sheriff has set it up, he's got people working on it daily. And,
Well, that's why we want to see the data.
they can
from
cross,
several-
Who is really doing?
Well, and
Right.
several years back too,
and they can
pre-COVID.
cross, they don't have to tell the other jurisdiction they're going in, because they're all second judicial task force. So, you know, Osceola has already approached the sheriff about coming back in with them. But right now, they don't know who the chief is gonna be, so he wants to wait and settle that, and he said they'd look at
You
it.
talking about Bob
first.
or Osceola?
Osceola and County Sheriff's Department.
Was that before I was in the newspaper article?
Justice,
They
we're going.
hadn't even seen that.
You know, Justice McDonald had a great point. Not only do we have 3 drug task force, we also have, you know, both ends of the county with court. So we are really, you know, we're really asking a lot of a case coordinator. Not only is she dealing with 3 separate entities, but also 2 separate courts.
Well, with
So-
Blythe will be easy, they'll be doing all theirs north end, Osceola will be easy. The one that'll be difficult for the sheriff.
Well, I'm
Separate.
well, no, now if you don't have to have jurisdiction, they can just run all over
No,
county.
they still have to set it in the jurisdiction where they make the arrest.
Oh, okay.
That line down there just past Burdette,
Yeah.
still in
Gotcha.
effect.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we've got, the judge graciously moved our next regular quorum court meeting, in this month of November to the last Tuesday of November. And, that's gonna buy us a week. We're down to 3 weeks, guys. And we're gonna have to be tying these loose ends up. County clerk, ma'am, are you making your adjustments on the basis of the personnel committee's recommendation in your budget?
Yes. Do I need to resubmit it?
Yes, ma'am. If you'd resubmit to Kelly and with those adjustments being made, please, ma'am.
We're good.
And then, Judge, if you'd move forward on the county cut sheet, we'll try to see how much money we can appropriate something regardless. You know, but it would just get us going forward. But I think we need to go ahead and as long as you agree.
And I've got the wells, I know what, I've got the bid on that, so, we just need to know what the cut yardage is gonna cost.
Excellent. Yes,
I
ma'am.
had spoken with Kelly about the courthouse construction, and that budget. We were simply, what she and I talked about, and I don't know if you guys would agree, to go ahead and appropriate the remainder with the exception of the leftover contingency, the undesignated, and of course, the interest will go into the new interest will go into the undesignated too. So it'll leave, there's 30,000 left in the contingency at this moment, and $200 and some odd left in undesignated plus the interest. So it'll put us approximately $300,000 left undesignated. Oh, and the 125 to move back to the courthouse.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we actually end the courthouse and we got those extra monies, then we can move those those down to Osceola and get more work done down there.
Yes, they have, I think the requirement is it has to be used on the courthouses. Yes, we can use it on.
There's no lack of need.
Yeah, we can certainly use it in Osceola. We could, I feel like we could probably use it with the maintenance of, the cherry picker or something like that. We can do all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Is there any prayer of us being actually occupying the new building by January 1?
No.
I think that's all right. I actually walked through with Rick the other day, and I didn't think so.
Absolutely right.
I think that's just.
That would be an ice cube's chest somewhere we don't want to talk about.
All right, so we're gonna make these adjustments. We're trying to get yours finalized, and we need to speak with senior citizens in the worst way, one way or the other.
Yes, and then there was also something on, the health departments that you were wanting me to hold off on putting her request in there, or do you want me?
No, go ahead and put those requests in, and then
If we
Justice
get some
Jackson,
information.
working with the judge. We really wanna do some good work, whatever it takes. If we need to build a new building while we've got, the American Rescue Plan funds that could be available for something like that, we'd like to make a 4-year difference somewhere. So.
And I think those are important changes, just like the land limit, that's a 40-year.
Absolutely, we need to make them on it, well, while we've got an opportunity, and take the burden off future courts. Judge, you have anything else, sir?
No.
Ms. Curry?
No, sir.
Assessor? Our collector got up and left on us, but she gave us good news before she left. How about our treasurer?
No, but with speaking about senior citizens for the first time in a long time, they did go in the red last week. Before, we got their check from East Arkansas, which brought them back in the black, but they'll probably be in trouble again, That's the first time they've gone in the red in a long time.
I remember that later. Anything else you want to bring to us?
Got some pilot light from Newport today, right before.
Oh, did you?
About 120,000 will go to county general.
Did y'all hear that? We had an additional pilot payment come in from one of the new core projects, an additional 120,000. And the reason I point that out is this is our economic development funds at work.
And that's just the county's portion, so do you remember what the check was in its entirety?
No, I just got them right before I came over here. There were 4 checks. I just looked at what was going to probably go in county general, so
that is, what, is that 18%?
I don't know what the percentage was. It was
All right.
120,000.
If we got 120 in county general, wouldn't it be closer to $800,000 that we collected?
Pretty much close. Really, it's like 5% what we get, so multiply that times it. Yeah.
So it's significant, yeah, and yeah.
There were 4 separate checks.
That's
Which was spread out over the county.
That's a return on
Yes.
investment,
It
guys.
certainly is.
Just pointing it out.
I would like to bring up something that doesn't have anything to do with budgeting next year, although it could. The Arkansas Northeastern College has approached me about a pilot program that they would like to partner with the county, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Henry if he will help me, because I don't have any printed material in front of me, and I hate to let this wait for the regular finance meeting, but they're working with the state on the recidivism rate that we have here in Mississippi County and lowering that. And we've got other counties in the state right now that have been practicing this program. Mr. Henry, they requested $25,000.
Sounds right. They said that 47% of all inmates that are released, that were from Mississippi County, return back to jail within 3 years. 1 and 2 go back to jail.
So they have a program in mind right now that they're modeling after the state and other counties.
And that's a good program. I've had some firsthand experience with it. It's a good program. There's quite a bit of red tape, but considering how badly we need employees, it's good. It really is. We've had good success with the couple that we've had.
So it's enhanced rehabilitation.
Yes, it's, so, if I'm not mistaken, so when, like an inmate gets out, they have to spend some time, in a halfway house. And then they can actually get a job, they can move back home faster if they have a job. A lot of people wanna come back to their home, which let's just say is Mississippi County, so if they have a job waiting, then they can go ahead and come back, and then they spend some time with like an ankle, electronic monitoring, and and there's some requirements through the employer. You have to provide a schedule and some different things, and they can't really change it mid-schedule, some different things like that. But I mean, when they first come back, I mean, nobody wants to go back to jail, so they are monitoring and really keeping on the straight and narrow. It gives them the ability to kind of earn some money. They have a job and kind of get on their feet before that electronic monitoring comes off, and by that time they're usually pretty set.
And this goes through ANC.
They have a state program, and I'm guessing ANC kind of wants to do a local program,
That's correct.
which I think would be a great idea.
Actually, they've been involved for quite some time now, but now they're ready to move it up to the next level.
Yeah.
So, and I know $25,000 is a lot of money, but if you're taking them out
Depends on what you buy.
47%, I think it'd be, because we're spending a ton of money on our jail and housing convicted individuals. So if we could cut that number back, I think we get this number back easily.
Invest in people.
This is giving some,
Human capital.
this is giving some training, some work training, some soft skill training, some counseling with their families to reincorporate back. I mean, it's like a whole round approach, not just one little area.
Dr. Hunt is leading that program.
Right.
She's doing a really good job.
The state's been doing some of it here, I know, funding, about 3 or 4. And they're, looks like they're gonna get master licenses, and some of them are talking about state right here. They were not released to their home counties.
So yeah, I mean, it's a process, but I really do think if you can work with the employer and they have a job immediately, they're guaranteed as long as they're in the parameters of the program. I think it's a good program. It's solid.
Sheriff Cook is on board with this. I asked him if he would mind if we run that money through the sheriff's department or the jail as a pass through, and then on to the Arkansas Northeastern College for there. I think that may be a good route.
Excellent. Sounds good. Are they gonna ask for it here soon?
They've asked me to present it to you, and I think they're ready to go.
Okay. Of course, we can't vote a new appropriation until our next regular meeting, but
Right.
we can start making headway that way.
We need to put that in the new budget too. Is it a one-time deal or is it an annual?
I asked him about that, and we talked about it. Right now, I think it should be considered a one-time, pilot project, but I think it's gonna be successful. There was a tremendous amount of material that was given to me.
We'll put that down for our next regular Quorum Court meeting as an appropriation ordinance.
So
Any
Molly,
JP's got
Molly,
anything?
when is the prayer that would be moving back?
Pardon me?
She said, "Well, when is the prayer that we would be moving back to the?"
March the first?
March 1st.
Oh no!
I was gonna say, I think they might complete it late January, early March, early February.
So
I
maybe
mean, they
so.
did say we just start having court in February.
But we have some problems, just like, the circuit clerk's gotta have her own IT, people come from Little Rock, put theirs in. Janice, yeah, got to have their own people come in, put their IT, we've got our own IT. We're still under COVID right now, so depending on what happens as we progress, it may slow things down. We did really, really well moving from here, from Blyville to Burdett. We did it in August, it's perfect weather. Going back is not gonna be probably quite so quickly or easy.
Well, and in addition to that, I mean, we simply have to get the building first,
And we got to get the bill.
and that's gonna take us a little
Will
bit.
this move be a little bit easier because they're not gonna be having to move furniture back?
No,
Just-
that's correct. But we are gonna have to put, the campus back the way it was, or,
I got one thing I'm gonna pass
What are they
on.
gonna do?
I helped the sheriff and county attorney meeting on Friday. So some time to talk about collection of old fines.
Right.
Just for those who want to know.
Good to know, good to know.
Wait a minute, run it first by me.
The
Did you say
county,
it was right?
the sheriff, they're supposed to meet Friday. I got it, I'm gonna coordinate it.
He wasn't inviting us, he was informing us.
No, I'm gonna go, cause I was here to see how it's gonna work.
Guys, if y'all don't have anything else, we'll be back here next Monday. Harley,
They're figuring that out, with us drawing about 5% off that, those checks from Nucor would have been over 2,400,000. School getting most of it.
ROI, I like those return on investments. So, alright, Monday, listen, don't wait, if you've got questions or issues or something about the budget, please contact Kelly, contact myself, contact the judge's office, but get a hold of us, this is a work in progress and we wanna get it completed on time. Thank you very much, guys.
Sure.